Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life. Rule number 1, sit up straight, stand up straight, and this is part 2 of rule number 1. The principle of unequal distribution. When a defeated lobster regains its courage and dares to fight again, it is more likely to lose again than you would predict, statistically, from a tally of its previous fights. Its victorious opponent, on the other hand, is more likely to win. It's winner-take-all of the lobster world, just as it is human societies, where the top 1% have as much loot as the bottom 50%, and where the richest 85 people have as much as the bottom 3.5 billion. That same brutal principle of unequal distribution applies outside the financial domain. Indeed, anywhere that creative production is required. The majority of scientific papers are published by a few small group of scientists. A tiny proportion of musicians produce almost all the recorded commercial music. Just a handful of authors sell all the books. 1.5 million separately titled books sell each year in the U.S. However, only 500 of these sell more than 100,000 copies. Similarly, just 4 classical composers, Bach, Beethoven, Mozart, and Tobolsky, wrote almost all the music played by modern orchestras. Bach, for his part, composed so prolifically that it would take decades of work merely to hand copy his scores, yet only a small fraction of this prodigious output is commonly performed. The same thing applies to the output of the other 3 members of this group of hyper-dominant composers. Only a small fraction of their work is still widely played. Thus, a small fraction of the music composed by a small fraction of all classical composers who have ever composed makes up almost all the classical music that the world knows and loves. This principle is sometimes known as Price's Law, after Jared J. de Sola Price, the researcher who discovered its application in science in 1963. It can be modeled using an approximately L-shaped graph, with number of people on the vertical axis and productivity or resources on the horizontal. The basic principle had been discovered much earlier. I think this is skipping. We have to record this. Victor Pareto, an Italian polymath, noticed an applicability to wealth distribution in the early 20th century. And it appears true for every society ever studied, regardless of governmental form. It also applies to the population of cities. A very small number have almost all the people. True. The mass of heavenly bodies, a very small number hoard all the matter, and the frequency of words and language. 90% of communication occurs using just 500 words, among many other things. Sometimes it is known as the Matthew principle, from Matthew chapter 25, verse 29. Derived from what might be the harshest statement ever attributed to Christ. To those who have everything, more will be given. From those who have nothing, everything will be taken. Oh, that's harsh. You truly know who you are, the Son of God, when your dicta applies even to crustaceans. Back to the fractious shellfish, it doesn't take that long before lobsters testing each other out learn who can be messed with and who should be given a wide berth. And once they have learned, the resultant hierarchy is exceedingly stable. All a victor needs to do once he has won is to wiggle his antenna in a threatening manner, and a previous opponent will vanish in a puff of sand before him. A weaker lobster will quit trying, accept his lowly status, and keep his legs attached to his body. The top lobster, by contrast, occupying the best shelter, getting some good rest, finishing a good meal, parades his dominance around his territory, rousting subordinate lobsters from their shelters at night just to remind them who's their daddy. Wake up, I'm a lobster. Wake up, I'm the top lobster. Wake up. All the girls. The female lobsters, who also find hard for territory during the explicable maternal stages of their existence, identify the top guy quickly and become irresistibly attracted to him. This is a brilliant strategy, in my estimation. It's also one used by females of many different species, including humans. Instead of undertaking the computational, difficult task of identifying the best man, the females outsource the problem to the machine-like calculations of the dominance hierarchy. They let the males fight it out and peel their parameters from the top. This is very much what happens with stock market pricing, where the value of any particular enterprise is determined through the competition of all. When the females are ready to shed their shells and soften up a bit, they become interested in mating. They start hanging around the dominant lobster's pad, spraying attractive scents and aphrodisiacs toward him, trying to seduce him. His aggression has made him successful, so he's likely to react in a dominant, irritable manner. Furthermore, he's large, healthy, and powerful. It's no easy task to switch his attention from fighting to mating. If properly charmed, however, he will change his behavior towards the female. This is the lobster equivalent of 50 Shades of Grey, the fastest-selling paperback of all time, and the eternal Beauty and the Beast plot of archetypical romance. This is the pattern of behavior continually represented in the sexually explicit literary fantasies that are as popular among women as provocative image of naked women are among men. Wow, are romance novels really that popular? According to Dr. Peterson, they're as popular as naked images are popular among men. It should be pointed out, however, that sheer physical power is an unstable basis on which to found lasting dominance, as the Dutch primatologist Francis de Waal has taken pains to demonstrate. Among the chimp troops he studied, males who were successful in the longer term had to buttress their physical prowess with more sophisticated attributes. Even the most brutal chimp despot can be taken down, after all, by two opponents, each 3/4 as mean. In consequence, males who stay on top longer are those who form reciprocal coalitions with their lower status comrades, who pay careful attention to the troop's females and their infants. The political ploy of baby kissing is literally millions of years old, but lobsters are still comparatively primitive, so the bare plot elements of Beauty and the Beast suffice for them. Beast and the Beauty suffice for them. Once the beast has been successfully charmed, the successful female lobster will disrobe, shedding her shell, making herself dangerously soft, vulnerable, and ready to mate. At the right moment, the male, now converted into a careful lover, deposits a packet of sperm into the appropriate receptacle. Afterward, the female hangs around and hardens up for a couple weeks, another phenomenon not entirely unknown among human beings. Afterward, the female hangs around and hardens up for a couple of weeks, another phenomenon not entirely unknown among human beings. At her leisure, she returns to her own domicile laden with fertilized eggs. At this point, another female will attempt the same thing, and so on. The dominant male, with his upright and confident posture, not only gets the prime real estate and easiest access to the best hunting grounds, he also gets all the girls. It is exceptionally more worthwhile to be successful if you're a lobster and male. Why is all this relevant? For an amazing number of reasons, apart from that they are comically obvious. First, we know that lobsters have been around in one form or another for more than 350 million years. This is a very long time. 65 million years ago, there were still dinosaurs. That is the unimaginable distant past to us. The lobsters, however, dinosaurs, were the nouveaux riches who appeared and disappeared in the flow of near eternal time. This means that dominance hierarchies have been an essentially permanent feature of the environment to which all complex life has adapted. A third of a billion years ago, brains and nervous systems were comparatively simple. Nonetheless, they already had the structure and neurochemistry necessary to process information about status and society. The importance of this fact can hardly be overstated. That was from Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life, rule number 1. My name is Gregory Brandt. Click the thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button. If you enjoyed that reading, send this video to one person or put it on your Twitter or Facebook. Thanks.